Nation of Fitin10. It is day 9. It's a beautiful Mother's Day here. And, a couple days ago, I think it was 2 videos ago, I made a reference. It was a short little reference to, it was a comment I made about, it doesn't matter how you feel during the day. And nobody actually said anything about this, but I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that. What I meant by how you feel in the day, and I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but I forgot, is of course it matters how you feel in the day. It totally matters. But really what I'm saying here is, pay attention more to your numbers, and obviously to a certain point, less on how you feel. So when I say feel, I'm talking more emotionally. So if you feel like I'm eating a lot of food here, and I don't know if anybody's feeling this way because nobody's actually specifically said this. Well, actually, I guess there have been some people that have actually said this. So if you feel like you're eating a lot of food, you are eating a decent volume of food, but you're not eating a lot of calories, right? You've probably heard me say this over and over again because I have said it, but I'm going to say it again. You're not eating an abundance of calories. You might be eating more food than you're used to, but you're not eating an abundance of calories, okay? So if in your mind you feel like this just can't be possible with the food that I'm eating, just know that it is, right? I'm trying to draw an analogy here, and I'm sure there's many analogies we could draw here. But the point is that volume does not equal calories, right? Volume does not equal calories, and I know I went through this yesterday a little bit with, certain foods that you could eat, and that would just, add up to a ton of calories quite easily. And this is what people tend to do. This is basically what everybody tends to do if they don't pay attention to what they eat. Nobody has any idea of actually what they're consuming if they don't actually track it and take note of what they're eating. You might feel like you ate less. You might feel like you're eating, less calories. And feelings are feelings, right? They don't necessarily tell the truth. So, this is just another point of assurance to you that keep journaling your food, be as accurate as you can, and stick to numbers, and believe me, your weight will go down. And again, this is the reason why I'm trying to drive this home, because you could say, well, why don't you just lower my calories, or why don't you just let me just eat whatever I want. The point here is to obviously make you, there's several points. One is to make you food aware. Okay, so you're learning about what foods contain what. 2, that you can eat whole spectrum of foods and still lose weight. 3, we want to try to get a spectrum of foods because we want to get an array of nutrients, right? So everything from, if you don't eat meat, that's fine, but I'm trying to make you aware that you can lose a substantial amount of body fat eating an array of foods, a decent amount, including carbohydrates and fats, okay? And you don't have to feel like you're stuck following a diet, okay? Now, I know for the sake of this challenge, it probably feels like you're following a diet because you're doing all this work and you can't just eat whatever you want on a whim. But of course, the point is when this challenge is done, at the end, you're going to have a much better understanding of what contains what. You're also going to feel much more confident in terms of how much of what you can eat. Okay, that's the whole point of this. All right, and it may not be the best business model, but maybe I'm not the best business person, okay? This is truly, I think this is truly something that's here to help you. It's helped me a lot. It's basically just a reflection of pretty much what I do and have sort of through all my years of doing this, and I've been doing this for, I realize that, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, I guess. I've been doing this in terms of weighing food and stuff like that, measuring my food so I'm 42 now. I've been doing this since I was in my late teens, so whatever that is, 25 years or something, right? Been training with weights for 31 years. been watching my food for, you know, a good 25 years. So this has helped me a lot. So, you know, again, it doesn't necessarily mean when you're done the challenge that you have to weigh everything out and do everything perfectly. But having knowledge of food is like, I can't tell you how valuable this is. Anytime you sit down to eat, you know, if body composition, if your, I mean, let's face it, your health, you know, if the way you physically feel, if these things are important to you, which I'm sure they are, then this is, you know, this is ammunition for you for the rest of your life, okay? Probably just said a bunch of stuff. Hopefully that's, you know, hopefully helpful to you, okay? All right, so I get people writing me saying, what are some foods that contain protein? I can't think of anything. Or what are some foods that contain carbohydrates? Can't think of anything. What are some foods that contain fats? I get all three. So, you know, here's the thing I'm going to recommend to you. What are the foods that you like to eat? First and foremost, okay, when you go to structure your food, what are the foods you like to eat? And then look them up and see what they contain, okay? And then you can think about the amounts of those foods that you want, and then you can try to fill these things in. Now, maybe some people are doing this, okay? But you have your manual as a resource. I realize it's not an exhaustive list of all the types of macronutrients, but it's a starting point, and it will give you some direction into other areas. Like you'll see, like oils, for example, are just basically pure fat, right? You'll see that, you know, fruits and vegetables and starches, you know, or fruits and vegetables tend to be, you know, basically carbohydrates, you know, and tubers as well. Okay, so starches and sugars, essentially, right? You'll see that, typically speaking, certain kinds of meats, all kinds of meats, you know, poultry, fish, red meat, etc., and dairy to a large degree, tend to be protein-based foods. Now, I realize that it's very hard to find certain foods that are just one thing, but for the most part, you can find things that are very, very fat dense. Like nuts are very, very fat dense. Yes, they have some protein, but they're not really protein sources, right? A, they don't contain all essential amino acids, and B, they're calorically speaking very fat dense, right? Okay, so you're going to have some foods that have a little bit of, perhaps, let's say you're trying to go for fat and you have nuts. You're going to have some of those foods that, you know, they might be high in fat. They may have a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbohydrate. Okay, that's just simply the way it is. Give yourself some buffering room. Maybe peel back on some of the foods that are purely more protein, purely more fat, purely more carbohydrate. Peel back on some of those foods that you're having in order to fit in the other ones that have, you know, little residual effects of the other macronutrients, okay? Nuts being a perfect example, right? So if you can't fit in the protein that's coming from the nuts or the carbohydrates, scale back on some of the other foods that are more carbohydrate strong or, you know, protein strong, okay? 8.5 minutes. Okay, let's get the message of the day. Message of the day. The message of the day actually just reminds me of something else I want to talk about. So maybe I'll talk about it. Okay, long-term consistency over short-term perfection. Long-term consistency over short-term perfection. So I know a lot of you right out of the gates, you want to do cardio as hard as you can. You want to do, you know, you want to feel super hungry. You want to, all these things. So just think about trying to keep things more even keel right now and just consistent. Just consistent, okay? It's like, you know, the very first time I went to go do the grouse grind with my brother's like he's a total character. He's a super funny guy. But we went to go do the grouse grind, and the whole time up there, he's like, I'm gonna smoke you up the mountain. You know, you're gonna see. And we got to the bottom. He didn't know what to expect, and he just takes off from the beginning, just sprints. And then, like, literally maybe 100 yards up, I just sort of walk up to him, and then he's like bent over, out of breath, and has to take a break. So, you know, it's sort of the, you know, the analogy that the tortoise beats the hare, in the sense of this is a long-term thing. We don't need to go extreme. When it comes to your cardio, you may not feel like it's hard enough. You're welcome to go harder. If you go harder, you will burn more energy for sure, but you don't have to, okay? Still, your cardio is still cardio. It's just thinking of an activity that you're burning energy doing, okay? Whether you feel that it's hard or not, you're still burning energy doing it, okay? But you are welcome to do it harder. Just remember that we are going to continue to do this, okay? So, I'm trying to get you guys thinking about long term, right? Food-wise and exercise-wise, and, in terms of the frequency as well, right? This is why I only do 4.5 hours of exercise per week, okay? All right, so I'll say it one more time. Long-term consistency over short-term perfection. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. See you guys.